This episode begins with a young boy trying to reach his stuck kite in the tree and notices a car coming on the road next to his house at full speed. He tries to warn the driver that there is a big hole in the road to slow down. The mother, however, in the car is struggling to focus on driving and calming her crying baby. Unfortunately, her car falls into the hole and the car starts to go around in circles. All of a sudden, the young boy runs after the car with full speed and stops the car from behind. He's fascinated by his own power and strength and goes back to the tree, jumps and catches his kite, but notices that he can fly, then goes flying across the skies and over his town. It's a lovely scene from above, but the question is, how can he do this? The young boy is all grown up now. Clark Kent wakes up in a room with his roommate, full of energy, and destroys his alarm. Apparently, he is getting ready for his job interview. On the other hand, a girl also wakes up, getting ready also for a job interview. But Clark is struggling with destroying and ripping everything in pieces. He decides to go on a run planning to hide his superpowers until he got interrupted by a poster of a missing cat, and finds the cat hanging from the tree and manages to get it back to the owner. Clark reaches a supermarket and meets the girl who is getting ready for her interview. All flustered and shy, he decides to go and talk to her, but a grandma interrupts to thank him for his assistance before and gives him a dozen of donuts and wraps a bib around his neck. Now he is all embarrassed and leaves immediately, breaking the front door. Clark meets with his roommate, late for the interview, and all of a sudden Clark has to use his superpowers to save his roommate from crossing the street without looking, but notices something weird about the truck driver who almost hit his friend. Moving on to the girl, barging in on her boss's office to tell him what she is going to write about. Lois Lane, that's her name, shows him her evidence and how she will be reporting about this for the people, but he refuses and tells her that she is an intern and she will be responsible for training the new interns, Clark and Jimmy, the roommate. As she gets all excited with them, their boss kicks them out for now and tells her to stay, clarifying to Lane that her job is only to teach the interns and make coffee. She is not a reporter. That's harsh, and she is disappointed. Clark notices that she is upset about what happened and tells her that he can apologize for what happened to their boss, but she takes Clark and Jimmy with her to show them around and to help her with her story that her boss just warned her about. Jimmy notices that Clark likes her, but he refuses the idea and denies it. On the other hand, the driver of the truck goes into a weird place with others, and a man asks her what took her so long. She confirms to him that she couldn't find a buyer to buy their weapons, so they can go out of this country. But they get interrupted by a big robot coming out of the steel box and attacks one of the thieves, but she manages to stop it immediately. She warns them not to touch anything and to follow her orders only. Back to Clark, Lane, and Jimmy. They head back to the supermarket and talk to some random kids, apparently, because they are always moving in the city. They know what is happening and explains every kid's role. Clark asks one of the kids if the trucks they keep saying are garbage trucks, and she confirms it, and he wonders if he was someone who was transporting stolen good. How would they do it? The kid points out where they saw it on the maps. Clark, Jimmy, and Lane head to the location, but her boss messages her to get back to the office. As they enter the place, they find it completely empty. Clark receives a phone from their boss, threatening him to come back, all of them, or they will be fired. As she receives a message about the robot's location and tells them to come along, Clark stops her to tell her about his call, accuses her of lying, and how she used them for her story only. Lane takes Jimmy and leaves Clark and starts to realize what she had done. But Jimmy tells her that they have arrived to the location of the robots, and the thieves immediately attack them, and one of them lets out the robot, and now it's after them. Clark wanders around, and a kid stops him to tell him what she had seen. Clark flies immediately to help them, and stops the robot from attacking them, but he covers himself in a different outfit. He wouldn't get his identity known. Clark fights the big robot and destroys it successfully. As the thief notices that, she unleashes several robots against them. Lane takes the initiative to stop them, and succeeds after pressing their buttons. But the remaining robot almost finished her, but Clark unleashes his maximum superpowers and saves her, then flies away. Lois Lane goes looking for Clark, who was stuck under the rubles, and heads back to their boss, and he approves it. A flashback where Clark's parents on Earth, and shows him where they hid everything that they found when he arrived, telling him that everything he needs to know about himself is right there. As Clark steps in, he is shocked by how things are responsive, and a hologram of a man appears and starts talking in a weird language, and a huge hole opens from the ground, almost pulling his mother in. But Clark saves his mother and father, and flies them away, and covers the hole again, and the feeling of being unknown hits him. Back again to adult Clark in the office with Jimmy and Lois. Lois tells them that they are going to work on figuring out who is Superman, the man who saved them last night, Jimmy throws in some idiotic ideas that he is an alien. I mean, not completely idiotic. He did come from the outer space after all. Clark fakes a stomach and leaves, and Jimmy and Lois head out to find where are the robots. Furthermore, the truck driver notices something is off while walking the street and avoids a bullet from spies who are going after her. Back to Clark. He goes to see his mother, tells her he used his powers, but they don't know that he is the one. Lois and Jimmy go to find the woman that Superman was fighting in order to find Superman. As Lois starts asking about Clark, and if he is okay, Jimmy shows her that he has photos of the girl and her boats, and they decide to look for the boats first. Back to Clark. At his parents' place trying to dig the big hole from before. However, it grew even bigger now. Clark enters a weird dimension and meets a strange man speaking a different language again. Jimmy and Lois found something weirder than the boat. Footsteps that will lead them to a route. Moving on to Clark, trying to figure out his true identity, and the strange man shows him what happened before, apparently. The strange man is his father, and he was the one who sent him to the Earth. All of a sudden, Clark is wearing his suit with an S on his chest and flies out of the hole, but his mother insists on asking who is the Lois girl. Back to Lois and Jimmy facing explosives, and the girl is now warning a man that she will destroy the city and fights with him, and Jimmy enjoys taking pictures of the fight. Moving back to Clark where his father hands him his phone while ringing. It's Jimmy, by the way, and Clark flies immediately to them. Back to the fight between the two thieves, almost finishing Jimmy and Lois, but Superman saves them and fight the thief girl, but she gets electrified and Superman manages to stop the chaos and saves the day. Lois and Jimmy head back to her boss, and he is convinced now with the results they came up with. Clark's phone rings and Lois is at the door, coming to check on him and to tell him what happened in the city. I really enjoyed these first two episodes, the introduction to who is Superman and how he got his superpowers. I mean, not all of it, but a part of it. His friendship with Lois and Jimmy, and how different all of them are from each other, but still manage to be one group, helping each other. I really look forward to their bond. This brings us to the end of today's video. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel to get more videos like this one. Your support helps us grow. And tell me, what do you think of these two episodes? Do you think the evil girl, the truck driver, would be giving out information about Superman to the other villains? Let me know in the comments below. I read all of them. And if you're watching till now, thank you. I'll see you in another video soon.